Good morning, Commissioner Wilson.
Hello, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Good, I made it.
Welcome, Mr. Sarbacher.
Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning, Jim Meyer. Welcome to our guest, Dean Groskopf.
Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you.
Hey, Dean, how's life?
There we are. Hello, Tom.
Good morning, Jim Meyer. Can we do a
Good
sound
morning,
check?
Janelle. Can you hear us?
Yes, we can. Thank you. And good morning, Commissioner Bookland.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Janelle, I'm sorry. This is Jim Meyer.
Yes.
I just noticed we don't have video, or I'm not sharing my video, but I thought my settings say I am. So is there something I'm missing?
You need to be made a co-host by Lynn, and she will be doing that. She's just admitting.
Oh.
So
Okay.
she'll be making you and Kathy Wunderlich co-hosts so you can introduce your new staff.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Okay, good morning, everyone. It's 8 o'clock. Janelle, do we need to wait for them to be made co-hosts, or can we move ahead?
Nope, we can move ahead. We are
Okay.
golden.
So welcome, everybody. Welcome to our guests this morning. Janelle, would you like to go through the virtual meeting guidance?
Of course I would. So, good morning, commissioners, members of the public, and staff. To help us have a smooth meeting, I'm going to review just a few decorum rules for all to please follow. Number 1, please ensure your microphone is muted unless you are speaking. Number 2, please state your name before speaking. Number 3, in general, please have your cameras on if possible if you're speaking. You may turn your cameras off if you're experiencing technological challenges. And number 4, as a reminder, the public chat has been disabled, but you can still send messages to the host if need be. And this meeting is being recorded and streamed live on YouTube. So with that, everyone, let's have a fantastic meeting and welcome.
Okay, thank you, Janelle. That will move us to announcements. Michael, before we get into the employee introductions, do you have any announcements?
President Hubble, I do not.
Okay, so the first employee introduction is of Brandon Braithwaite, a project engineer.
Good morning, commissioners. I am pleased to announce Brandon Braithwaite. He is a project engineer too, that has been added to the engineering department. He just started with us last week, and he's the first project engineer that we've hired since 2019. And would like to express on behalf of the engineering department and the staff of the district our sincere gratitude to the commission for adding the 3 new project engineer positions to our 2022 budget. Brandon has a bachelor's of science in civil engineering with a certificate in construction engineering and management from UW-Madison and a master's from Michigan Tech. He had various municipal engineering internships during his college years and then started his professional career in the Peace Corps in Panama, focusing on water and sanitation projects in rural indigenous areas of Panama. He became a licensed professional engineer in 2010 while serving as a project manager at Terra Engineering and Construction in Madison. He then became a design engineer at MSA Professionals for 2.5 years, and then has since spent the last 10 years at the DNR and a short stint at UW-Madison as an owner's project manager running design and construction projects. Brandon has a very diverse skill set that will position him very well to assist the project engineers and collection system engineer in our department and the district as a whole. He previously graduated from APWA's Emerging Leader Academy, and he's currently enrolled in UW-Madison's Certified Public Manager Certificate Program. He's also working on his Envision Sustainability Professional Certification over the next coming months. A little bit of personal information about Brandon. He has 2 young daughters and his family lives in Verona. He enjoys outdoor activities like hiking, camping, canoeing. And his family has set an ambitious goal of visiting at least one national park each year. This year's park was the Great Smoky Mountains. He's on this call if any of the commissioners have any questions for him or I, and would like again to say thank you, Brandon. We are excited to welcome you here to the district.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. Welcome, Brandon. Hope you enjoy your tenure with the district. Well, that will take us to Roy Rodriguez, journeyman electrician, and Jim Meyer.
Yep, good morning. Sorry, good morning, commissioners. My name's Jim Meyer. It's my pleasure to announce, I'm the electrical maintenance supervisor. It's my pleasure to announce or introduce Roy Rodriguez today. Roy was born in Texas. He lived there for 10 years, and now Roy lives in Cambridge, Wisconsin. He comes to us from MPI in Deerfield, where he's worked there for 15 years. The first few years, he was a forklift driver and a die setter, and for the last 11 years, Roy worked in the maintenance department as an electrician for MPI. During that time, Roy earned his journeyman industrial electrician journey worker card, so license. In his free time, Roy enjoys hiking, fishing, hunting, and he's a big sports fan. Roy has an 11-year-old son named Xander. Xander plays baseball right now. He's getting interested in football, hoping to play football next year. So Roy is a big Cowboys fan. His ex-wife is a Packers fan, so we're not sure what Xander, they'll probably lobby to see which teams they can get Xander to support. So Roy's very interested in learning about the electrical department here at the district and how we support the goals of the district. And we're very excited to have Roy on board. He's going to be a great asset to the electrical maintenance group team here at the district. So please help me in welcoming Roy Rodriguez to the district.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Welcome, Roy, and we hope you enjoy your tenure. We won't hold a Cowboy fan against you, and we probably even have some Viking fans employed by the district after that game last weekend. Okay, so that will take us to appearances by the public. Do we have anybody from the public that wants to make an appearance? Has anything to say? I don't see any hands up, so that will move us on to the consent calendar, where we have the cash statement, capital projects fund, the approval of minutes from the last meeting in August 25th, the review and approval of the sanitary sewer extension plans. I think there was one of them, if I remember correctly. And then D is authorized agreement with State of Wisconsin Group Insurance Board to participate in the Income Continuation Insurance Program. And E is approval of transaction amount and award of contract for professional service for Lower Badger Mill Creek Interceptor phases 5 and 6. So do we have any questions on any of these items before we get a motion? Okay, I don't see any hands up for any questions. So do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
It's Wilson. I'll move approval of the items on the consent calendar.
I'll second it, Murphy.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Wilson, second by Commissioner Murphy to approve the consent calendar. All those in favor say aye.
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 And any opposed? None, motion carries. Okay. That will move us to 4A, the auditor's presentation of the 2021 financial statements and audit findings. So is that Shannon Small?
It is. Thank you, commissioners, for having me. I think Dana might have a quick introduction. Yes, no?
Yes. Good morning, Commission. This is Shannon Small of Clifton Larson Allen. We engage with CLA each year to do our annual financial audit, and Shannon is going to share the results and findings from this year.
Thank you, Dana. Just a quick technology check. Can you all see my screen with the presentation? Wonderful. Thank you so much, commissioners, for having me today. I have a short presentation for you on the results of the 2021 audit. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. I'm more than happy to answer. And if it gets too deep, I will pass the volley back over to Dana and she can help answer those questions. I'm going to start with just a quick overview of what the audit is, a little reminder. I know many of you have heard this before, but a little bit of a refresher on kind of the purpose and scope of the audit. Our purpose of the audit is to express an opinion on the financial statements, and we are pleased to let you know that we are issuing what's commonly referred to as a clean opinion or an unmodified opinion. This is the highest level of assurance we can provide you that your financial statements are free of material misstatement and presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. It's kind of the gold standard of audit opinion, and pleased to present that to you again this year as we have in the past. Also, our audit considers internal controls not for the purpose of issuing an opinion over those controls, but for assisting us in planning our procedures based on the control environment at your organization. We will report any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses noted, and we frequently have conversations with management over best practices, items noted, and other information that arises from those communications. The other piece you'll see in the financial statements is required supplementary information. This is information that just adds some context and additional detail to some of the key items within your financial statements. The most common ones you'll see in here are related to the pension and your other post-employment benefits, the promises to your retirees. A little bit of summary of how we get down to those end results. It's really split into three pieces. The first is our preliminary fieldwork. This is where we really document and test internal controls, gain an understanding of the operations at your organization and any changes that may have occurred throughout the year. This helps us with designing our audit procedures and making our plans for the final fieldwork, which is the heart of our audit work. That's really where we're testing account balances and transactions and looking at those key balances. We focus mainly on your most significant balances and transactions. So the largest numbers that you're seeing on the financial statements are where we get to spend the most of our time. We also do a risk-based approach, so looking at the things that may have significant indicators of or inputs that would be a little bit harder to get lined up right. So we'll spend a little more time with those. This is also where we would be testing any federal or state programs, if you had any. That's normally your clean water fund, safe drinking water loans, or any other federal money that comes in. The last stage is really bringing this all together and putting the financial statements together in the report within. So when you look through that financial statements, you'll see that there's a little piece in blue on here. That's the only piece of those statements that is mine. That's the auditor's opinion. The rest is management's hard work and summary of their data and information. We may provide some assistance in there, but management is really the key driver of all that. So they get the credit for a lot of that hard work in those reports you're looking through. A little bit of a results of your audit. I alluded to this earlier, but we do have a clean opinion. So I'm pleased to present that to you. I'm also pleased to present to you we have no material weaknesses and no significant deficiencies to present to you. In audit land, the more you hear me say no and none, the better the audit went. So you'll hear a lot of that as we go through this. We also have a theme here, no material audit entries, no uncorrected misstatements, and no other matters we need to present to you as governance. So overall, the audit went very smoothly. We had no adjustments and no corrections that needed to be made. Really, the key feature to take away from that is the information you receive throughout the year from management is consistent with the information that's presented in the final financial statements that are presented to your external users. As you go through the letter that we sent to you, you'll see a few other items highlighted in there. Just a few things to keep in mind as you're looking through key accounting policies, any communications with management, and some key accounting estimates. Nothing of concern, just a few items to put context around those financial statements and the results of our audit procedures. There were no new accounting standards adopted this year. We had no disagreements, no other matters to bring forward. And I do want to highlight that no new accounting standards this year, but management has already started working hard on the next accounting standard, which is coming up, which is a change in leasing, reporting, and financial accounting. So that'll be coming up, and you'll see a little bit of that coming forward. Just wanted to give you guys a heads up because management is already working hard on that and looking forward into the future. So the last thing I like to finish up with here is a thank you to your team. Their records were maintained timely and accurately. We had the full cooperation of your district staff. And as always, they were a pleasure to work with and made us a priority to get through this process. So we appreciate all of their help and assistance. Is there any questions I can answer for you on this presentation?
Okay, does anybody have any questions for the auditor? I don't see any hands raised, so I think that's it. Any other thing that
Wonderful.
you need? Okay, well, thank you very much, Shannon.
Thank you
We
so
will
much.
See you again next year, right?
I look forward to it. Thank you all so much for your time. And please let
Thank
me know if
you.
you have any questions that arise later.
Hey, Tom, it is
Go ahead.
Wilson. I have one question and thanks Shannon and all the staff that worked on that. That's always good news to hear. Do we need to accept that in any way, or is it fine that we just got the report on it and the audit is what it is?
That's a good question. It was
And
just
since we
a
haven't heard anything,
presentation.
I'm thinking that it's fine.
Yeah,
I can answer that. This is Dana Burmaster, the budget manager. You do not have to officially accept it.
Okay. Thanks, Dana.
Yes, you're welcome.
okay, thank you, Tom and Dana and Shannon for the good presentation. Good to hear that we're still on top of the game. Okay, that will take us to 4B, which is the presentation of the proposed 2023 operating, capital projects, and debt service budgets. And Michael and Dana, I think you're the two lead on this. So, Michael, you going to lead off?
Yes. I will lead off this presentation. Dana and I will tag team like last year, and I think Dana's going to share her screen and put our presentation up. And here it comes. How is that looking on everyone else's side? It looks a little bit big on my side. Maybe it's just my small screen.
No, the 2023.
There it is. Perfect. Perfect. So I'm really pleased to present the 2023 proposed operating budget. And I'm also pleased to see some of our owner community representatives also on the Zoom meeting today. And I appreciate your continued support and engagement in our budgeting process. I have a few just overarching comments about this budget. First is, as you know, commissioners, we connected with our owner communities last year, and after I shared with you that over the next 6 years, we're going to be increasing our capital investment to address increased capacity, improvements at the treatment plant, to improve our resiliency, and to make sure that we have systems for the future with our pumping stations and force mains. And that is in the neighborhood of about $200 to $250 million. And I would like to say in a 6-year snapshot window of investment. And to make that happen, we projected that will require a service charge increase of up to 9% per year. That was the commitment we made to the commission and to our owner communities last year. And I'm really pleased to say that we are fulfilling that commitment. with a service charge increase below 9%, even in this time of escalating costs and challenges with supply chains and other issues. The team really pulled together to make that happen. This budget also represents a real strategic direction that the commission has set through our strategic plan with broad policies around owner expectations, as well as very specific priorities in the coming years. That is in this budget, and those priorities are funded with my proposal today. Our priorities around equity, around climate mitigation, our compliance at Badger Mill Creek, and also looking at our service charges and methodology are going to be major policy considerations for the commission this next year. The budget also is going to look a little different, and it's going to look actually way better. Every year we try to up our game a little bit. One piece is the executive team. We've moved away from a silo approach to budgeting where every department has elements in the budget. You may recall past budgets where every department has priorities and funding needs, etc. And we have combined that into what is an enterprise level budget, because all of the priorities that we have in the various departments require all departments to be successful, such as reliability centered maintenance, for example, or even Badger Mill Creek. Those projects require every department to have all hands on board to implement those. And those are some of the priorities that we have in our strategic plan and in this budget. And what that has done is it creates a budget that really focuses on these priorities. And the budget document itself, you're going to see, is 30 pages less because of our ability to consolidate and focus this budget. I also want to give credit to our budget manager, Dana Burmaster, who started this budget process in February and March, and having discussions with departments, recognizing the supply chain issues and cost issues and how it was challenging our ability to get work done and the costs of getting work done. And that early planning has helped us when we went into our capital facility planning work, the CIP work in the summer, to look at what can we realistically accomplish and can we afford it. So when Bill Walker and his team did the CIP and brought it to you in July, that already incorporated our budget stressors and needs and giving you realistic projections for what projects we can actually get done. And then finally, Amanda and her team have composed this budget to make it very accessible and readable to the public. One of the things that's really important is that a budget shouldn't be a bunch of spreadsheets, but it needs to tell the story of what's important to the district, what our priorities are, and how that links and relates to the budget we have. So the three takeaways is that we're addressing the economic climate in this budget. Two, as you will see from Dana's presentation, we're advancing commission priorities, and we're investing in employees. So I'm really pleased to be able to present this budget. So Dana, if you could go to the next slide, please. One thing that I take as a standard of quality is we have received this Distinguished Budget Presentation Award since 2013. And this award recognizes transparency in budgeting. And it's how there are standards, over 20 standards for how to present information clearly. And we continue to achieve this Distinguished Budget Presentation Award every year, and we strive for continued growth and advancement of our budget and making it a better document for the public. Dana, next slide, please. The strategic plan, this is the work of the commission of really focusing on why do we exist, our strategic purpose, and our owner expectations is what owners expect from us in these 5 things about protecting public health, providing effective and efficient wastewater treatment, resiliency, making sure we're proactive in dealing with regulations, and being collaborative, fair, responsive, and equitable. And to make that happen, we have performance areas that I am responsible for with the executive team to deliver on, to make sure those 5 things happen. And that is what the really wonderful work that was done this year by the commission in collaboration with us as the executive team. Next slide, Dana. So the impact on households, this is something the commission has asked us, and we do a good job of calculating that on average, the impact on a household is about $432 a year. And that's not just the district's costs. The district's costs are about $280 per year. But we also have to add each owner community's collection system costs. And we have to estimate that, of course, and we use Madison as our standard. And this can vary from community to community, but this just gives you a sense of what it costs to convey and safely treat wastewater for an average household in our service area. And that equates to a little under $3 more per month based on the proposal I'm sharing with you today. Next slide, Dana. We're really cognizant and aware of national service charge trends. Clean water utilities across the country are seeing increases in service charges to deal with aging infrastructure like we are, increased compliance requirements like we are, and dealing with climate change impacts. And while you could see the trend is going up and our service charge rates are going up nationally, we're still about 25% below the national average in service charges. And that's a good tracking, and that's could be a lot of reasons for that, but I think it's the commission's proactive investment in compliance strategies before we get to having consent decrees and other very expensive compliance strategies that other utilities are faced with, which brings average costs up. We don't have consent decrees because we're proactive and anticipating future regulatory needs. So with that, I'll turn it over. Dana, you can go to the next slide. And I'll turn it over to budget, to Dana for a drill down into more detail of revenues and expenditures. Take it away, Dana.
Thank you, Michael. Before I begin, I just wanted to share with President Hovell that I'm a Vikings fan. So I hope you won't hold that against me as we go through the budget presentation. So before we build the 2023 budget, we look at the 2022 budget, including revenues, expenditures, and reserves. We took data through August, so this is our most up-to-date data, and we are slightly under our 2022 budget in revenues by about 500,000 and slightly over in expenditures by about 300,000. So we continue to have issues with uncontrollable expenditures, including energy and supplies that we've had in previous years. They tend to increase even over our estimated budget. We are monitoring this closely and discussing it as an executive team each month. We're confident that at the end of the year, we will not be over our budgeted expenditures of 48.2 million. Even if we were, we have plans in place to address that shortfall. Finally, we look at reserves, and we have good news here. Our reserves are very healthy. In fact, we are over the 210 days, which is the maximum per commission policy of reserves. We're over by about 37 days. And we estimate there'll be close to 4 million or more, and that we will transfer to the capital program at the end of the year per commission policy. So we are in good shape with reserves. There's a couple of reasons for that. One is that we were very proactive during the pandemic with monitoring and managing our expenditures, and we did underspend by 1.2 million during those years. We also had increased revenues of $1 million towards the end of the pandemic because of, we believe, lessening restrictions on people and returning to life, as we call, maybe semi-normal now. So that's 2.2 million of the surplus reserves, and we also had some carryover. So we are in good shape with reserves. So Michael mentioned some changes in our budget process this year. I just wanted to give you a little bit more detail. As we started the budget process, of course, we always have in the forefront the interests of you as the commission and our owner communities. But we wanted to make a few changes this year. In the past 2 years, we've made some changes that were more technical in nature to streamline some processes and create some efficiencies. This year, we wanted to look at our timeline. And as Michael said, we started in early spring, which is earlier than previous years. And he met with each director to discuss their needs for 2023. So this allowed us to be more deliberative and also look for priorities across departments, looking at the budget as a whole instead of in pieces. We also built in a little bit of time at the end to collaborate as an executive team and make any necessary decisions on reductions. And we did make some difficult decisions this year to get under the 9% that we promised owner communities. But the improvement this year is that we were more collaborative in that approach to get to our final number. There are changes to the budget book, as you heard about, most notably in section 5, which is the department section, where we show the focus items across departments and overall performance indicators. So those are some of the changes to the budget process this year. The 2023 budget is 52.3 million. That's 4.1 million over our current budget, and the 8.9% service charge increase represents $50 million in total service charge revenues. We also looked at inflation trends as we were developing this budget, and what we're seeing is that inflation will continue to increase in 2023, and we have taken that into account when we developed this budget. It does look like inflation will start to decrease in 2024 and stabilize in 2025. So looking ahead, we're hoping that continues to improve, but it will still be an issue for us to closely manage in 2023. We continue to increase our cash financing of capital in this budget. And so we have a $1.3 million increase to the capital program. And we have a number of other investments that we've made. The most significant one is workforce, and I want to talk a little bit more about that. As you'll see, it's a 3.25 increase. So that's the largest increase out of the 9% increase this year. It's also the largest investment in workforce that I could find in recent history. And that includes a number of items. Most importantly, we wanted to address the financial uncertainty and cost of living increases that staff has experienced during the pandemic and currently. And so this budget includes a 5% market adjustment for all staff, as well as continuing our mid-year performance increases for staff. The budget also includes 3 new positions, 2 maintenance planners, and 1 organizational design specialist. And these 3 positions address and support our 2023 focus items of reliability-centered maintenance and diversity, equity, and inclusion. We also are budgeting for the 3 engineering positions that the commission approved. This year, we used surplus budget this year to cover those positions, but we are now budgeting for them in 2023 and years beyond. A few other changes that are under the workforce increase are a health insurance premium increase of 10% this year, which is around $150,000. And finally, we've included the cost of the upcoming proposed handbook changes. So Mike Lipsky will be bringing the proposed employee handbook to you in the next coming months, but we have included those costs in our 2023 budget. And that is about $250,000 and includes some changes to vacation, paid parental leave, and adding a district holiday for Juneteenth. So that's what encompasses that 3% or 1.5 million under workforce. I already talked about increasing cash financing for capital of 1.3 million. Operating needs increased 2%, and that is lower than last year, but we're still stabilized at around 2 to 3% a year. And you may wonder how that could be lower when I talked about inflation. But we have found areas, because we took a really good look at the budget, and we found some areas that we could decrease, as well as other areas that needed to increase. And so we ended up with a 2% increase for operating needs. And finally, we have some investments in IT this year. We have some equipment that needs to be replaced and some software renewals. And so that's what represents the investment of almost 1% in IT. So that's the 2023 budget. And quickly, before Michael and I take questions, I wanted to share the timeline with you. We will be at the September 22nd DCC VA meeting to present the budget and answer questions. Our next touch point with the commission is September 29th for the public hearing that has been noticed in the Wisconsin State Journal. And I do want to make a note that the September 29th commission meeting is virtual. So just a reminder that it's virtual. And the October 13th meeting is in person, and that's where the commission deliberates the budget. And then the budget will be adopted on October 27th, and we will notify customers of the new rates after that. So with that, we'll open it up to questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Dana. Does anybody have any questions for Dana or Michael on the proposed budget?
Commissioner Bookland.
Yes, thank you. The budget overall looks great, and I can tell a lot of time and thought has been put into it. I do have one question though, and that is, I think you mentioned a 5% increase for staff cost of living in the upcoming budget. And I'm just wondering how you came up with that number, and is that going to be enough given the inflation that we've been seeing?
Could take a shot at that answer. We work with a consultant every year who has data for other public utility entities, and they give us projections. And what's a little bit, it's a bit of a nuance, but it's an important one. And a market adjustment is the cost of labor. It's not the cost of living. And so what we want to make sure we have is that wages and salaries that are keeping pace with what it costs to recruit and retain people. And that market adjustment, it can be higher than inflation or lower than inflation based on supply and demand. And so that is the basis that we use. We use Carlson Detman to help us figure out what we're doing. I also I closely monitor what my colleagues are doing in Milwaukee Metropolitan Sewerage District and Green Bay Metro, where we have similar staffs, and we're all looking at how do we retain our own people. And my colleagues, Milwaukee is proposing about a 4% market adjustment, and so is Green Bay Metro. So we're right in that range. We've gone a little bit higher. I think we feel we want to have very competitive wages and salaries here in Madison, and so we feel 5% is a real good number to keep our salaries to market, and that we can retain all our great employees.
Good, thanks a lot. That's really helpful. And my question was really related to, retention and being competitive. So you answered those perfectly. Thanks.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions? Bob Whipperford, go ahead.
Thank you. Bob Whipperford, President of the Village of Windsor and President of the Dane County Cities and Villages Association. Just a couple of questions. I think, Michael, you had mentioned that you're trying to ramp up the cash expenditures over the next 6 years. And I guess I'm wondering why 6 years, or maybe it was 7, if you could explain that. And then after you answer that, I have a follow-up on the 5% pay bump.
Yes, we use 5 to 6 years because it is a reasonable planning window for us of certainty. Anything further out than 6 years is hard for us to predict. And so that's why we like to use about a 6-year floating window that our CIP, because the capital expenditures really drive our budget and increases there. So that's why we use that number.
Okay. And then on the 5%, cost of inflation, I think obviously the employees are well deserving of that. I think from our perspective as member municipalities, given the levy limits that we operate under, we may not have that flexibility. So I'm not sure how that will resonate with some of the member municipalities, but it's just something to keep in mind. Obviously, we're in a very tight labor market, and I commend you for trying to retain your employees. It's just that not all municipalities will be in that position in order to do that. So just an observation.
Yeah, valid point. Thank you very much, Bob. Anybody else have any questions? Okay. Ask again. Anybody else have any questions? I don't see any other hands up. So what we'll have then is the public hearing will be virtual, as Dana mentioned, in 2 weeks. And then basically a month from now, we will have an in-person meeting where we discuss the budget and have deliberations. Then the following meeting, the last one in October, is our anticipated action date. And is that meeting virtual too, Michael? The action date?
No, that will be an in-person meeting. We'll have a public hearing meeting, and that'll be virtual. Then the next commission deliberation meeting will be in person.
Okay, the deliberation and then the action meeting on October
Right.
27th. Yep. So everybody
Hold
plan on
here.
the October meetings being in person then?
Dana, could you flip back one slide to the schedule? So the 29th public hearing meeting will be a virtual meeting.
Right.
The October 13th will be an in-person meeting. And then the adoption of the budget on October 27th will be again a virtual meeting.
Oh, okay. So the 27th is virtual. So the only in-person meeting scheduled so far is October 13th.
Right.
Okay.
And if the commission wants to change that, of course, at any time.
Right, we can change that.
We can change
Yep.
it.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, everybody. One last time, anybody have any questions? I don't see any hands being raised. So, okay, we'll move on to the Chief Engineer and Director's report with the CED report. Michael?
Oh, thank you. Thank you, commissioners. I just have some brief reports. We did have one air permit deviation and one treatment facility overflow TFO in our acid digester. I will be presenting more details on both of those items at the next meeting at CED update. I'm still reviewing some of the details on both of those, and we also have reporting non-compliance. The DNR's new web-based system of reporting TFOs has changed, and we're going through that transition with the DNR. And so I wanted to be able to share all three of those at one time in a more comprehensive manner. So I'll do that at the next meeting, but I just at least wanted to let you know that we did experience some violations, deviations. And that's really all I have in my report for this meeting. Let's turn it back over to you, President Hubbell.
Okay, thank you, Michael. That will take us to any questions of Michael? I don't see any hands. So Paul, regulatory and legal.
Yes, good morning. Just a couple of things to highlight from the regulatory report this month. On the PFAS front, the Department of Natural Resources has issued a scope statement for some additional PFAS groundwater standards. And to kind of reinitiate that process. Given what happened with the legislative review last time, I'm not sure how far that will go, but probably the more significant development is in the federal standards. The EPA is moving forward both with the drinking water standard, which will essentially force Wisconsin's hand on that issue, but it also is proposing to list certain PFAS compounds as hazardous substances under CERCLA. That proposed rule was just published. There's a comment period through the end of November. We are working with other wastewater entities to see what kind of comments might be appropriate as it relates to potential impacts on biosolids. And so we're reviewing that fairly closely. The other item is the anti-degradation rule is moving forward. There's, I think, one more advisory committee meeting coming up. As noted in the handout, they are looking at discussing how to most effectively measure whether it's a stream-based or a contaminant-based approach. So that's something we will continue to watch. Probably not a lot of impact for the district, but potentially some impacts with Badger Mill Creek. So we want to watch that as well. Other than that, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Any questions for Paul on the legal and regulatory? Okay, don't see any hands up. So we'll move on to future meeting schedule. We covered part of that. So the first meeting in October will be in person. The next meeting and the last one in September and the last one in October are anticipated to be virtual unless we decide otherwise, maybe particularly with the last meeting in October. But we can talk about that at our in-person meeting. Future agenda topics? Any other businesses allowed by law? And Commissioner Wilson.
I will move that we adjourn.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Wilson, second by,
Clark's not here.
no.
I'll second it. Murphy.
Okay, second by Commissioner Murphy to adjourn. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. The meeting stands adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Are you there?
Hold on, I'm gonna